And your night has filled me with laughter and brought tears of joy soon after. And I've let my senses go, 'cause I feel love is nearby.
Hi, I'm Sylvie. I'm holistic nutritionist and strength coach, and I'm here with
Janey Brown, singer, performer, and a wellness expert.
So today we're here to talk about meditation. So a lot of people know that Janey is a badass singer-songwriter, performer, but what they don't know is that she's been meditating since she was 13 years old. Yes, 13 years old. So tell me a little bit about how that has impacted your life and why you started so early with such a popular concept now.
Well, my mom actually had been meditating for several years before I was born, and then when I was born, it was just sort of always a part of our life and always something that we talked about within our family. And I actually started practicing meditation because I was a child performer. I started performing at age 10, and I started to notice as a kid, fear is sort of this like gray area where you're not, it's just sort of you go and you do it. But as I started to become more aware of my fears, they started to get inside my head a lot more, and I started to develop a little bit of stage fright. So I found implementing meditation was the biggest way for me to overcome stage fright, or at least control my emotional disposition around that.
Wow, and at 13. That's amazing. So obviously it's really popular to talk about mindfulness and meditation these days. You're hearing it everywhere. Are they the same thing, or what does mindfulness really mean?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, it's a huge topic. Mindfulness and meditation are the same thing because there's several different types of meditations out there. Mindfulness or observation or awareness meditation being one of them. But to answer the question about what mindfulness really is, it's simply just bringing awareness to a subject. So it's not necessarily this sort of concept that you have to study or do a course to understand what it is. It's really just understanding that it's exactly as it sounds. Mindfulness, bringing attention to a subject, becoming aware of, observing, and a lot of the meditation that I do in order to help negative behavioral patterns change is in the realm of awareness and mindfulness and sort of observing the mental, emotional, and physical disposition.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to be mindful, you don't necessarily have to like meditate every day for 20 minutes or an hour.
No,
okay.
We can be mindful right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're walking along the beach or when you're eating food. Yeah, exactly. And it's the keystone to sort of everything else you do. When you are able to practice or implement mindfulness practices into your daily regimen, even for 5 minutes or 2 minutes a day, you start to develop these more concrete neural patterns that will then seep into all these other aspects of your life. So if you can be mindful sitting and doing nothing and observing your body and observing the way you feel, etc., and your breath, you can do the same thing when you're eating a meal or when you're talking to a colleague or when you're walking down the street. You can do it wherever and whenever. It doesn't have to be the right lighting and
right.
the perfect music and the incense in the background. Mindfulness is truly just understanding and being aware of what's happening in the moment.
Okay. And what does your meditation practice look like? Like what sort of things would you do to meditate, or like what does that look like? Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about like the amount of time, what if you need to again be in a candlelit room, if you need to totally clear your thoughts, like what does that actually mean, or is there a different concept for everybody?
That's a great question. I mean, ideally for me, I feel the best when I meditate for at least 30 minutes a session.
Right.
In a perfect world, I would meditate every single day for an hour, maybe twice a day.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. But I think what's more realistic for an individual of my age and our age in the city of Toronto in 2016, trying to build a career or 2 careers, trying to manage a relationship, trying to make a living and be that success, you know what I mean? Like try and build your empire, as it were.
Yeah.
If you can meditate for at least 15 minutes a day, it would benefit you, but it's really just a matter of what you can manage in your schedule. And I personally believe that all meditation is beneficial. All all
versions,
meditation for any amount of
So if
time.
you're doing like a guided meditation versus you just sitting there and trying it on your own.
Yeah, and there's several different types. Yeah,
Right.
there's what they call transcendental, which I believe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, my mom has done that back in
Yeah.
the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And that, what people know as or call transcendental today, and keep in mind these are all just buzzwords or words to sort of brand something so that people can relate to what it is. But transcendental is like, it's chanting and sacred chanting and sacred breath work as well.
Right.
Kundalini is pretty much all breath and moving energy through breath. There's mindfulness meditation, which is just observing the present state. There's deep meditation.
And there's a ton of spiritual leaders out there.
Yeah, guided meditations.
Yeah, so that's my next question. Do you have to have a spiritual leader or somebody that you look up to or guides you through this to get into it, or can anyone just get into this?
Anyone can get into this at any single time of the day. There's no rules. It's helpful. I find it helpful to look up to different leaders, even motivational speakers that resonate with me and learn from them. But I mean,
are there any specific people or apps or anything that you would recommend in terms of like spiritual leaders or people who have had an influence in your growth?
Absolutely, yeah. I would. I fell in love with Nam Yoga. It's a company. I think one of their main studios is in California, and I think there's another one in New York. And they have studios all around the world, but those are the main sort of foundations of the company. That's actually derived from all kinds of traditions, but I know Kundalini is in there, and they have sacred chanting, and I absolutely love that form of meditation because it works with sound vibration and breath therapy to sort of balance the nervous system and to make you feel good. But I also love guided meditation because it allows you to sort of, again, develop these new neural mental pathways and observe how you're feeling at the same time.
Yep.
And also using a rich context story, which is what you do in creative visualizations, which is using the five senses to create the meditation. It has a really strong physiological impact on the body and allows you to sort of manifest what it is that you're trying to go after a lot quicker, whether it be cultivating positive emotion or healing a friendship or reaching your goals. I just love that one because it plays such a strong role in manifesting your actual physical reality.
Right. Yeah, I found it really beneficial when I injured my back to do like the whole body scan, because I just, even with doing like bringing awareness to all of my body parts, it made a huge difference just in how you're feeling, and you can kind of feel like the energy clearing in certain areas, which was really cool for me.
Totally.
Personally.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's such a great example. And I also went through vocal therapy at one time, and I did a lot of healing meditations for my throat, and it really did make a difference. Like, even if it's just an uplifting of your, the way that your emotion, you're uplifting your emotions or uplifting your thought patterns around it, so it's not such a negative spiral. Even that can do work differences. But I literally felt physical changes.
Yep.
With guided meditations like that.
Cool. So what I'm like relatively, I wouldn't say new, like it's been a concept in my life for a really long time. Whether or not I've like stuck with it is a different story. But what advice would you give to someone who's starting out with meditation? Like, do they have to commit to a certain amount of time in order to make it a habit, or can they just like pick it up in certain times in their life, or do you recommend like legitimately doing it every day? Like, what would you recommend?
That's a really great question, because there's a fine line between being disciplined and sort of pushing the river, and a fine line between sort of being mindful around what's the best method of meditation for you and just giving up, right? And and meditation's difficult because you're being present with yourself, and there's a lot of emotions
things
and
that come up,
anxiety can come up, all kinds of uncomfortable things that we are constantly distracting ourselves from throughout our day with food and sometimes alcohol. Sometimes technology is a huge one.
Yeah.
So it is kind of one of those things that you have to test out. But I recommend, I love what you said in one of our other videos about the 21-day sort of
It's kind of the average of like building up a habit. But the biggest thing with that is just obviously like practicing it.
That's right.
And starting over. Like I know with food, and one of the big things that I recommend is just like, you know, continuing to do it. Like yesterday was yesterday, today is a new day.
That's
you know.
right.
It doesn't have to define you if you fell off for 5 days.
Right.
It means you can pick it up at any time,
Yeah.
and that's the awesome thing about life, is that it's constantly like present moment, and just moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't mean you're a failure if you stopped for 5 days. It just means you got busy.
Yeah.
And being able to hold that compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's all
such
part of
an
mindfulness.
awesome point. Yeah, being compassionate to yourself. I think like we can all learn from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that I wanted to mention is I recommend personally people to start out with maybe a little bit more of an active meditation, like guided or chanting, where you're not necessarily so alone with yourself. And then just kind of like try that out for an extended period of time. If you know within 15 days and you did 15 days straight for 20 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, and you know that you just like it's not working for you, then you don't have to go the 21 days to see. You can move on. But I recommend something that's a little bit more active, because people are less apt to sort of say, oh, this is too hard, I just can't sit with myself and whatever, with something that's active, than they are to with a mindfulness meditation. However, I would always try and pair, so an active meditation, by the way, would be chanting or a guided meditation where your mind is actively creating. But I would always pair it with just a little bit of mindfulness before or after. So observations of physical, mental, emotional dispositions, and just sort of getting you into that state where you're present with, okay, what's going on for me right now? And getting into that activity of, okay, I'm just going to accept whatever's there. There's no judgment. I don't have to feel any which way. I don't have to force myself into feeling good with this chant or feeling good with this meditation.
Yeah.
It's really important. So the mindfulness thing is key, so that you can assess where you actually are, and then start the creative visualization or the chant that makes you feel good or whatever. Because it's important to really each day assess where you are and create that observation and that awareness, so that you can start to change the things that aren't working for you. Like, that's key.
One of the biggest things with me was starting out with meditations, I always felt like I had to clear my thoughts. I felt like, you know, if I had certain feelings or thoughts that came up, that was a bad thing. And as I've done more of it, and like, you know, obviously worked with you, that's one thing that I know is completely false now in terms of, can you explain that a bit, just so that people are like, you know, aware that that's okay to have, you know, things come up. And it's better to just be with it?
Absolutely. Like, that's a huge thing, is that people think they need to meditate their way out of
like they're doing it wrong.
Right. Yeah, and I think, so the best way to describe it, I love this description, I don't know where I picked this up, but it's like think of your thoughts or your emotions as a television on mute or very low volume in the background. And the television's just running its course. It's the news or it's commercials or whatever. It's just going on and on. But you're just redirecting your thought energy onto something else. So the meditation at hand. So having said that, you're not trying to push your thoughts away. You're not trying to stop them. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. And a matter of fact, they're allowed to be there, and they can teach you something.
Right.
However, if you're doing a creative visualization or a meditation where you're trying to raise your vibration, as it were, you literally just say, okay, thoughts, welcome, hi, you're allowed to be here.
I love that.
But just, it's almost like you're putting your arm around them and going like, you and I are allowed to be cool, but we're going to do this now. You know what I'm saying? And so you then redirect your thought energy onto the breath exercise or the chant or the creative visualization or whatever modality of meditation that you decide to do, deep meditation. Or whatever.
And this concept can be so beneficial for everyone. Like there wouldn't be, like, I know you and I work with athletes specifically, and busy executives and that type of thing, and it's like it's most beneficial probably for someone like that who does have these racing thoughts. If I can see it being really beneficial in that community as well.
Definitely, and I mean, I resonate with those people, like big executives that need to do lots of board meetings, or people that present, or I resonate with them so much because it relates to performing, and I just, I mean, from my own experience, it's been intensely beneficial. It's been abundantly beneficial for me. Okay, I'm going to get into the nervous system real quick. Parasympathetic versus sympathetic is the autonomic nervous system. The parasympathetic side of the nervous system is the relax, rest, digest, recover component of the nervous system. So when we meditate, we trigger the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
And what happens, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic work in conjunction with one another. They don't work separately. And when you stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system in an environment where you're not in a high stress place, or you're not on stage performing, or on a basketball court in a game or whatever, what happens is the nervous system becomes balanced to an extent that when you are put in those stressful situations, you don't reach a point of manic or panic.
Right.
So you have these moments of clarity which enable you to react differently, because when you're in a sympathetic state, you don't really have a choice.
It's just
not
that like straight,
go.
Yeah.
There's not so much thought process around it. So if your nervous system is more balanced in those moments of intensity and anxiety or whatever the case, you don't become manic. You just are clear and then move on, and then clear and then move on. And it's the best way I can describe it is if you take the time. Obviously, you can't be kumbaya when you're in the middle of a basketball game, or
that would not be good.
or a silks routine or whatever, a presentation. I mean, presentations can be kumbaya a little bit, but you don't want people to fall asleep. So you have to keep that energy up, right?
Be engaged and
Yeah. So you can't practice these methods in action. You practice them outside of the action. And when you do that, what I'm saying is you are able to have more moments of clarity when it is decision time,
because you will have stressful situations and
Absolutely.
that's part of life, but it's just how you're dealing with it,
and you will be met at a crossroads. Like you will have to go, oh, what do I do? Oh, what do I do? And it's just that much clearer. There's just a better connection there neurologically.
Killing the words today. Well, thank you so much. I know that it's been difficult for me to like get into meditating, but I can definitely see the benefits and have seen the benefits myself. So it's good to have that explanation, and I think like everyone should just do it and try it.
Absolutely.
And find your avenue. Like there's going to be like certain guided meditations, like I know, where I'm like, oh my god, this guy does not have the best voice, or just can't get into like that state because I'm distracted. But the key has just been to keep doing it and keep trying it. But yeah, that was really awesome.
Yay! Well, thanks for having this discussion with me, and I will be posting guided meditations and breath exercises in the days to come. So definitely check back to my YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And see you later. Thanks for watching.
Calling my breath and emotions within.